right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this edition of HITRUST Secrets. October is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I think I've written that on like 8 or 9 different posts already in the last week or two, which is why there's a little Halloween jack-o'-lantern behind me. So, getting into the spirit of cybersecurity awareness, and what better way to get into that spirit of cybersecurity awareness is with our guest today, Danielle Robinson. She is launching an application that will help get cybersecurity training into the hands of those who need it the most. So, Donna and I are very happy to welcome you today and kind of hear what's going on. We had just had this conversation last week about practical cybersecurity awareness training, something that would maybe walk through different frameworks, so that people could very easily understand, should I use a SOC 2? Should I use an ISO? Should I use a HITRUST? Should I use a HIPAA? What would be the right thing? And so I started doing some research, and that's actually where I came across you on LinkedIn, Danielle. And so I was very happy that, it seemed like timing wise, everything was launching, and this would be a great way to kind of kick off this discussion. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. And yes, I'm super excited about my new product. So I named it Kyora IQ. Uh, I just figured it had a ring, Google Gemini Kyora IQ was somewhere up there. But but the application, yes, it's going to be a cybersecurity training and talent marketplace.
Okay.
And essentially, the difference and what's special to me about it is it's going to offer over 20 live instructor-led courses. So what's missing in a lot of the training environments is that typically you get access to one area, right? Someone may be doing just a SIM, teach you how to be a SOC analyst, or someone may teach you just GRC, or someone may have online courses, but there's no personal interaction there. These courses are designed to where the first 30 to 45 minutes are strictly, theory or maybe hands-on, and I'll go over the courses in a minute. But then the last hour and 15 minutes, the way that I envisioned it is that people are actually going to be able to ask questions, right, to the instructors that are leading these classes, because I want people to get that personal interaction. Most times people come to me and they're like, I don't know anyone in cybersecurity. I don't know
Mhm.
where to start, or, I'm, doing a cloud security and I need some assistance. And with these classes, it puts industry professionals right in front of them so that they can ask questions to them.
Yeah, and I think it's great that it's a subscription model so that it can be very affordable for a small team, for a small business. It's not isolating. It's not, if I can't make a full 5-day course in person or online, it fits into what it is that you need. But I do really appreciate having that, the ability to have that interaction so that it's not just a canned demo. It's not maybe stale content, that as the content evolves or as the questions come up, the instructors can take that input and revise the content. And so that following month, you may see a very similar course, but it's going to have refreshed content in it as opposed to, oh yeah, I've already seen that one, or it doesn't pertain. So,
Yep. That's exactly it. The idea was that, again, affordable, just like you said, right? So when I thought about it, it was almost like a gym membership, but for cybersecurity. so,
yeah.
so so I wanted to make sure that people had that access. So I have everything on the app from high school cybersecurity. So I actually have a teacher out of Volusia County. She's a current cybersecurity teacher that teaches her or prepares her students for the Security Plus examination. She actually has a wait list for her class. So I decided let's get her on the app. And that
Oh,
way it would
yeah.
give, students across the country access, anyone that can download the application, it'd be in the app and Google Play stores. So they'll be able to get access. I have a lieutenant that's going to be teaching digital forensics. He's active in the industry, in the field of teaching or of providing digital forensics for a police department. So he'll be on the app. I have a senior cybersecurity engineer that will be doing dark web hunting, AI and cybersecurity. I ensure to include even an industry professional who will be teaching ISO 42001,
Oh, nice.
the new framework for implementing AI
Hmm.
securely. And then I even have an industry professional professional that will be teaching GRC, so the fundamentals, as well as security for the board. So we have a wide range of, everything from just how do I get started into cybersecurity all
Hmm.
the way through threat detection, incident response, and security for the board. And these professionals, I gathered my network, right? I did my homework. And so these professionals are from industries, the corporations, right? Deloitte, Google, Salesforce, Zoom. I made sure that I got a good group of people that knew what they were going to be talking about on the application. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think that's good because I go to conferences, this is kind of conference season right now. And you go to a conference and I'm always interested because I'm more of that, risk management, project management, more of the GRC and compliance space. But I'm fascinated by, the threat hunters, the people that can even use open source intelligence to find missing people, things like that. And I've always wanted to join in with that. And I do have a technical background. I mean, I used to do, code development and all, but you walk into a capture the flag competition and it's quiet. Nobody's saying anything because they're competing and they're trying to
Focusing.
capture that flag. And so, I went to an IoT village and I just had to go, okay, what is an IoT village? What is the meaning here? And, it was very rudimentary, but I, wrote my first Python script. My son's a business analyst, does business analytics. And I was like, hey, I wrote my first Python script. I'm like, it was, here, write these, type the syntax in, but it's still, we have something in common now because, last time I hung up my stuff with Lotus Domino, was the last of
Yes.
my coding days. So, but it seems like it would be approachable that, okay, hey,
Yes.
I've got, some time this month. Let me just sit down and, try a course. Oh, that's too in depth. Let me pull back and find another course or something like that. So I think it'll be very helpful to have it as a, it's almost like you said, it's almost like a, going into a fitness center. Try that machine. Nope, can't do that machine. Let me go find one that I do know and then ask somebody for help on, an adjacent
Yeah.
machine or something.
Exactly. That was exactly the thought process behind it. And I have instructors who are going to be teaching fundamentals even of IoT. So I have a young lady that will be teaching how to build a home lab to penetrate to test IoT devices. I can't even talk today.
Oh,
I'm so
neat.
excited about it. But I will have the penetration testing. I have two instructors so that people can take their pick who they want to utilize, and then also how to build a home lab for cybersecurity using free tools such as AWS and things like that. So we're going to have, you can take your pick. The courses are going to last about 6 to 8 weeks, depending on
Okay.
the instructor and how they want to run their course. So you can choose to either attend, that course once a week, but we also want to allow you time to attend other classes. So I've tried to stagger the courses. I'm still working on the course, the timing for the catalog, but I'm trying to stagger the courses as much as possible so that people can pick and choose when they want to attend. So, if you want to attend a class at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, you can, or if you want to attend a class at 10 a.m. on Saturday, just like the gym.
Exactly. So would you run the same class multiple times during that? Like
During the
the
week.
same class on Wednesday night versus Saturday morning, or would it be a different
No,
class?
so
Okay.
there's so many classes that we decided to stagger them. So Ms. Torbush may teach the high school cybersecurity class on Wednesday at 7 p.m. And then she's going to teach that class every Wednesday at 7 p.m. so that it's
Okay.
just once a week. Yep. Until the platform grows. Now, if we get, potentially thousands of people and they're just like, you know what, I missed that class. I need to run, we need to add, two classes a week, then we'll look into those, to that as well. But right
Okay.
now with just, getting started, it's kind of like, I know there's a lot of anticipation, but it definitely has to grow before I overcommit.
Oh, sure.
Mm.
Absolutely.
And are you going to have, because I hear you saying, the high school cybersecurity class, but the there are a lot of professionals who could potentially want that information, and maybe it wasn't covered in what in whatever content they covered in their degree. So I've ended up in this space, working with HITRUST and SOC 2. my degree was in accounting. So they did not cover cybersecurity. It was also a couple of decades ago. So we'll leave that where it is. Cybersecurity has changed a bit in any case. So I just, are you going to be offering content and maybe describing it in ways that professionals, even who don't have a lot of context for it, might be interested? One of the other challenges that I've run into is that a lot of folks who are in similar remits to mine have CISP, qualifications. I haven't been a developer, and there are certain things that they're just not available to me to pursue, both because I lack the background, but also because that's not like, it would take me quite an age to go and get that background. And there are some of things that I have to go in and say, I've done this many hours of this and this many hours of this, and that's just not the work that I do. But I would love to have more context on, for example, I understand some of the nuances of the different frameworks, but I'd love to understand more about the different frameworks, why, a company. So I know in healthcare, HITRUST is, increasingly the gold
Yes.
standard. But for other organizations and for startups, and, SOC 2 is a good starting point. There are challenges, depending on which assessor you pick and what your objectives are, but it can be a great starting point, and why would somebody want to do that versus the, a smaller HITRUST assessment? I'm getting a little bit in the weeds, but these are the types of questions that would be really useful. The ISO 27001, for example, is a qualification that makes a lot of sense if you're in an organization that has quality assurance requirements and uses a lot of other ISO frameworks. You kind of can then stay in the family so that you can leverage those operational controls across different assessments. But I don't see anybody teaching those courses. And that's challenging. It's frustrating for me because I'd like to have more information myself, on not only these frameworks, but other ones that the government offers, where people say, oh, well, this is, Department of Defense or whatever it's called now, qualified. And they miss the fact that, yeah, it doesn't include third party though, because the government doesn't allow third party. You can't just delegate off to a third party. So it doesn't include that.
Definitely. So like I said, I have a multitude of instructors. So we have GRC fundamentals that will be taught by an industry professional. We also have RMF framework taught by a DoD contractor. So yes, there for professionals, there will definitely be a few people that will be teaching the different standards and which is best to go based on the industry that they're in. Because in my area, because I do work for a global organization, NIST 853 is the gold standard for most of my, state departments and things like that. And so NIST 853, SOC 2, like you said, especially if it's some type of data center or security operations center. And so, yes, for sure, there will definitely be folks that will be teaching those standards in which and frameworks in which is best to use. And then even, like I said, from not just high school cybersecurity, but we have CompTIA certified training professionals that will be on the platform as well. So we have Security Plus, Network Plus, and Pen Test Plus. So there will be, I wait till you see the course catalog.
We're excited. We're very
Yes,
excited.
it's definitely coming soon. But it's just being a small business owner and trying to launch this thing is like overwhelming sometimes. So it's going to be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's important. I think you've got to make sure that there's a market for it and then, tailor the courses based on that demand. So if you're seeing a lot of demand for the Security Plus, Pen Test Plus, obviously you're going to have more course availability there than, GRC. So it's incumbent, I think, on our industry or our section of the information security industry to say, hey, this is something we need to get the word out about so that you do have that audience to then be able to say, oh, here's a need. And, let me go find the person or group that would be able to respond to that. Because I mean, I've got experience with ISO 27001, but none of the other ISO frameworks. And so for me, when I talk to customers about ISO, it's, well, if you have a global presence because it's more globally accepted. never thinking until Donna had mentioned it that, oh, well, it's also if you are already doing ISO, was it 9,000 or whatever, if you're already in that
Mhm.
family, then it makes sense to stay in there. So,
Yeah.
I think crowdsourcing almost the course that Donna's looking for would be better because it would have almost a panel discussion,
Yeah. And that is so Danielle, full confession, this is a course that I'm in search of,
Yeah.
right? It's a portfolio course that says, to somebody who's maybe new into a cybersecurity role or maybe a new CISO, what are all the frameworks that I have to choose from, and why does one make sense for me?
Right.
And if my organization uses this, is it the best one, or are they just using it because somebody threw a dart, picked that one out of a hat, and that's where they ended up? And is it actually the one that's serving them well?
Right.
So there are increasingly challenges or people who are just kind of churning over. And
Right.
Sue and I will get in there, and she's talked about encountering people who are doing HITRUST or pursuing to talk to, and she's like, well, why are you doing this?
Right. Yep. No, I totally
And
understand. Yep.
it's HITRUST is not a small achievement. So I candidly asked companies, what's your goal? Because if it's not required by your customers and you don't have PHI, yes, it's wonderful as far as a less than 1% breach, but you have to balance that out with the investment required for it.
Mhm.
Right.
And it's there is a lot. So there are stepping stones and there are other frameworks that, if you're operating in the global sphere, and ISO is better. Or I think biotechnology tends to use a lot of ISO because of other quality controls that they are required to do. And maybe some of their investors look for that. But those are the types of things that, I certainly would like to be able to guide clients on from a much more informed standpoint, and guide them towards classes that they can take directly.
Yes.
Because that's, I'm not a professor, so not yet anyways.
Yes, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm actually going to take that feedback and ensure that my instructor is going to cover all of it, because he was insistent on teaching GRC fundamentals. So I'll
That's
definitely
excellent.
take that
Mhm.
back to him. He was pretty excited about that. But like you said, it does for HITRUST, funding comes into play for a lot. You touched on that a bit. Funding comes into play a lot
Mhm.
for, whether an organization decides that they want to, invest in the cost to achieve the certification. So yeah, but for sure,
Yeah.
definitely going to talk about all the frameworks and options.
And part of your target audience could include investors who are
Hmm.
looking to understand more about the startups that they're reviewing. And if a startup has one certification versus another, what does that mean? And is
Right.
it the one that the investment company is keen to have for their goals on the organization? And there are a lot of people from a realm of different remits who would benefit from at least a going in point,
Yes.
where they don't have to spend years in the development cycle or learning how to do software engineering to understand what's the difference between these frameworks from a business perspective.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah, and even in a merger and acquisition, I mean, we've had, one
Mhm.
of our regulars came on and he was like, "Hey, we're merging with another company and they don't do high trust and we do high trust, and which should we do? And should we stick with high trust or should we go to SOC too? Because that's what they do." And so to be able to arm somebody with, here's some experience-backed reasons why, it's not just me this is what I'm used to, so therefore I'm going to tell you, hey, let's live in my world and not, force me to
Yeah.
have to redecorate. But, to really have somebody that says, oh, but, you may want to do that. I also find with even with high trust certified assessors that they don't necessarily counsel their customers that if they pick an E1, they don't necessarily ask them the question, well, do you still want HIPAA? Do you still want those HIPAA controls? And so I see a
Yeah.
gap there. even just within the, picking the different frameworks, which in a couple weeks, we'll have somebody from HITRUST on, and I'll be like, hey, is there a way you can get this information out to those assessors so that they do, it's easy to sell an E1, but it may be missing the mark, for these clients. And then I come in as a readiness assessor, and they've already kind of, it's almost like the project manager has already sized the scope of the project, and you're like, oh, let's add another 60 controls to that, and it just doesn't happen. So how did you get started with this? I mean, kind of what was your background? And, I mean, this is an awful lot of work to do. So,
You're
what was,
telling me.
yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so I have been in security for 6.5 years now. So I started out as an investigator with the state of California. And then I went, and I'm giving you the background so you can see kind of how I ended up here. And then I went over to a company called Finicity, which is now MasterCard. And I was an application security analyst for 6 months there. They sent me to Mumbai to train with the security engineers in India, which was an amazing experience. And then following that experience, I had a friend who really took me up under her wing to say, hey, Danielle, CGI wants you. We want you over here. And so I'm sure you guys heard of CGI. So I ended up leaving that company after 6 months and got a position as an information system security officer. And within 3 months, a major client said, hey, Danielle, we want you. We don't to deliver on this millions and millions of dollars contract. We want you to deliver. And I was like, but I don't have the experience. I have like 9 months total in security. And they were like, we don't care. We'll teach you everything that you need to know. So it was really somebody giving me my start to say, hey, I'm going to take you up under my wing. We'll teach you everything that you need to know. And I was literally taught by the client how to deliver security services. And so as I grew and was recognized as a leader in my respective position and company and field, I quickly rose to a VCISO now 6 years later, where I continue to oversee global security projects from end to end, everything from client delivery of presentations, audits, and overseeing the system security officers and security operations center and security engineers, everything from end to end, right? But what I recognized was that as I grew and saw my peers, I recognized that people can always upskill, right? There's always room for improvement. So I had a passion for taking my peers under my wing to say, hey, how can I help? So from there, it was, okay, well, I want to help people also transition into cybersecurity. So that's when I started Cyber Boss Consulting. And the title was more so because I'm in security, but it was I started a Facebook group and I helped people transition into cybersecurity. So I had a ton of testimonials, but then life kind of took me by the horns and just pulled me back for a second, right? So I had to step back away from training and education and helping people transition and figure out what I wanted to do next. And that's how Kyora IQ was born. It was, I'm going to build out this mobile application. I'm going to bring my network together of people to help upskill, transition, train. So there's not just me, because I learned that just me gets overwhelming. My Facebook group has grown to almost 4,000 members now. So there's no way that I can help everyone individually. So it just became too overwhelming. So I said, okay, I'm going to pull my network of folks together. I'm going to create a mobile application, and I'm going to put everyone on this application. And like a gym membership, you'll be able to talk to anybody you want to talk to. So that's how it was, long story short, that's how it was born. As far as the application, the features, everything that I wanted, AI. AI is like my right hand. So I went in and I said, listen, this is, talking to it like a friend. I'm a big proponent of using AI. So I said, this is what I want to create. I want to create this mobile application, help me to create the features, things that would be helpful in the application. And I literally sat down for hours and hours, probably over a couple of days, to write out requirements for the application. And then it was born. I found a developer who could put it together for me, and I got some of my peers to say, "Hey, can you jump in and, do cloud security for me?" And here we are.
That's
Excellent.
such a great story.
It is.
It's a
That's
great, great journey.
yeah.
Thanks.
Now,
Thanks.
question for you, just kind of on the nuts and bolts of, so I'm a subscriber. I go in, I spend the subscription. I'm assuming it's going to track the classes that I've taken. I could still like retake a class if I wanted to, if I was like, I got half of that and, or couldn't finish and I can kind of start up again, correct?
Yes. Okay. So the way that it works, it's not a super invasive app where it's tracking, what you took. It's really just a gateway, right? So
Okay.
it's a gateway for connection. So it's a gateway for end users to be able to connect with industry professionals, whether the end user is a business employer, someone looking for a side project. There's an area for consultants on the application. So let's say one of my threat detection folks are interested in picking up, side projects in configuring something. I don't know. They are able to do that on the app. The other aspect is just a gateway to list what workshops are available. So let's say, for example, someone wants to take dark web hunting. In the application itself, they'll be able to see dark web hunting starting Wednesday at 7 p.m. They'll be able to hit add to calendar. When they hit add to calendar, a Teams link will actually be sent to the calendar that they're using on their phone. And then all of the courses are held via Teams as if it's like a brown bag session. So it's not like a formal curriculum that, it has been put together by a major training provider. These are real industry professionals that are saying, "Hey, we're going to take our time to show you what my day looks like, to show you to provide to you my knowledge and experience, and hopefully be able to assist and mentor you on your journey." So that's kind of how it
Mm.
works. So if you are not able to attend a class and you want to go back and retake, well, we're working on replays. Definitely all of them are going to be recorded, but if you want to go, if you miss a class, you'll be able to go back and look at the recording, or, if you needed something live, then of course you'll have to wait till the next class. So that's how it works.
So it's mobile only?
No, so it's again, it's
Okay.
when you hit add to calendar, it sends you a
Right.
Teams link, so you can join via your laptop.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. So that was one of my questions because I've got a number of different clients, so I've got different teams profiles and things, and I wouldn't want it to just kind of join with whatever's on my mobile. So I'd probably want to force it, in my case, to be more desktop based.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, it's a Teams link. So if you have your email connect, like if you can log in via your laptop with that email that's on your phone, you can join via your laptop or whatever, you know.
I've got about a half a dozen different emails. So,
Okay.
as a consultant, part of what I do is become embedded with the clients. I think Sue's got similar situations. So it's challenging because I would want to run it through my consulting firm, like my business separate. So it wouldn't be part of any of the clients that I'm working with because this is something that I would do separately,
Right.
not on their
You would,
time.
so
Uh,
when
Yeah.
you sign up through the app, you would use the consultant email, is what you're saying?
Mhm.
That's what you would want to
Yeah,
run
and
it
I
through?
don't run teams for my company.
Okay.
So I don't have a Teams, and I mean, I probably could. I've got Microsoft 365, but I'm a very small consultancy, so I spend most of that time talking to myself.
Yeah, no worries. You
Might
don't
be
have to have a
overkill.
Teams account. You won't have to have a Teams account.
Great.
Anyone
So it
can
can just
join
be
through
web-based then.
right. Yep.
Okay, good.
Yep.
So will you offer CPE credits for
No,
attending? Okay.
not yet. That
Okay.
this is all foundational.
Okay.
So I haven't even started looking into what that would look like or how I would even do that.
Okay. Yeah, because I know like ISACA is, if I were to start creating curriculum, I can get that credit, and it's just a matter of letting them know the hours, and it's even, going to a conference and presenting at a conference. I can record the hours that I spend doing that, but some of the other certifying bodies like ISC squared requires a little bit more. It has to be, they have to know that, a session that you've attended is at least 45 or 50 minutes long, et cetera, et cetera. So ISAC, I think, would just take a look at it and go, okay, what was the name of the course? Who provided it? And how long of a course was it? And you kind of get a certificate that way. But yeah, so, but I think it's great. I mean, I like the analogy that you have about kind of a lunch and learn. But it's a lunch and learn that's not within the
Sure.
walls of one company.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep, for sure.
I feel like it might be a steak dinner for lunch and learn, which sounds better. It's got a little more meat on the bones,
Yes, for
which
sure.
which is wonderful. So that because that's there are a lot of folks who are looking for more information, but not necessarily as part of a larger certification program
Hmm.
or some sort of a degree. They just need the information and they're willing to
Right.
pay for the information because they want good information from qualified individuals. It's just a matter of finding it and the live courses, which are increasingly difficult to come by.
Yep,
Exactly.
exactly. That was exactly my thought behind it was, again, that personal interaction that you get. All of my instructors have had a background check, fully vetted, ensured, verified their employment. So these folks, are verified industry professionals that will be
Mhm.
on the app that have experience in their respective areas that they'll be teaching.
Okay. Perfect. And is there like a feedback loop so that, if I attend a session and it just doesn't, the content doesn't match the course description, that I can go, wait a minute, I thought we were going to be doing this and, we went off on a tangent and never came back.
Definitely. So
Okay.
I've already started the planning. Like I said, I'm like getting down to like the last wire here. But I know for app submission, I had to do like feedback at, and support at. So I have all these apps that I'm putting together. So you'll definitely be able to submit your feedback.
Okay. So
That's
how many
amazing.
how many people have you started kind of a wait list to kind of see who's interested in joining, or are you just gonna open it up and
I'm going to open it up. So
okay.
I've been posting heavily.
Mhm.
Like I said, I have a Facebook group with almost 4,000 members. So every time I post, it's like 50 people that are like, I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm so excited. And
Good.
then, of course, I've been posting on LinkedIn to get the word out there. My instructors, I have 17 instructors. They have been posting. I've been trying to, post to meet the teachers so that everyone can kind of get a peek into, who's going to be teaching and kind of their background. And then the courses that they'll be offering. So I posted that on my LinkedIn page. So yeah, I'm just right now it's just word of mouth for me as a small
Hmm.
business. I will be running Google Ads. So I do have an explainer video being created right now that will get posted on Google and it'll be put out as an ad explaining the application and its benefits. And then as well as a lot of AI content, right? Because that has been like that's like the big thing for catching eye and just so I understand that a lot of people's attention span and, what catches their eye is going to be different from, one person to the next. So I've just been trying to think of as many ways as possible to get the message out there that the application is coming. And so, like I said, Google Ads, YouTube videos, content creators, and then word of mouth.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's hard for us with High Trust Secrets to kind of get the word out about it. It is a very small niche and
It is.
it's difficult, but I've already been stalking on LinkedIn some of the your Meet the Teachers when I see GRC and I'm like connecting with them and I figured once this gets up and running, have them on, here to kind of have that discussion and go, okay, so, what classes are you teaching? And, how's it been going? And, what kind of feedback are you getting? So, we'll do everything we can to support this as well. Cause I do agree, there's especially when you're first starting out, you definitely need to get that, security plus and to kind of show that you're serious about things. So I think it's great that you're starting with that to prep people, to get that. But yeah, to Donna's point, you kind of get to where we are and you're like, look, I don't need another certification to keep track of. I
Right.
don't want to chase, 10 different certifications that I have to
Yep.
chase CPE credits for. but I do have this specific question, and it would be great to have a stable of people that I can undo. And I know I've seen on some of your posts that it's starting kind of with this education and having live instructors, but you're also looking at kind of making it more of a collaboration area to be able to draw people together so that, to your point, if you did want to put together a team to for a specific project or specific timeline, that you would be able to find that expertise there as well.
Yep, exactly. So, to your point, an open dialogue, I think would be amazing. Like, I definitely want to have those. So you guys are more than welcome to, join in on the app as well. So that it will actually be listed as HITRUST Secrets,
Nice.
open dialogue so that the viewers or anyone that is subscribed to the app will be able to sit in and, hear your guys' perspective too. Cause I think that's important. Again, it is about collaboration. I think we're stronger as a team together
Hmm.
than not. So yes, definitely collaboration. Now, of course, for me, I can't really participate in any projects. It would be a conflict of interest. But building the mobile application and coordinating you guys all together, that's
You'll be
fine with
busy.
me.
Yeah, you'll be busy enough with all
Sure.
that.
Yes, yes, but definitely collaboration. So a lot of the guys, especially, some of them are true entrepreneurs and real go-getters. Some of them have
Mm.
even tried to sell to me. I'm like, dude, do you want to be an instructor or not? But if they do want to, team up on something, like I have a guy, he's not an instructor, but he has an AI security business, and I can't think of the name, but he builds all kinds of automation and software and things like
Mhm.
that. And I was telling him, my security engineer would be able to assist you maybe with maybe some of your whatever you have going on,
Hmm.
Mhm.
especially with um the secure development of whatever you're building. And so they were definitely, speaking about, how they can collaborate and connect. And we have team meetings. We have team meetings right now every Friday, for the instructors. For the ones who have small businesses, we'll also be doing team meetings once a month, because I know some of them, like, for example, I have a guy that does CMMC compliance for the DoD. So, that's a big one, especially if he
Hmm.
wanted to go after some of the small businesses, with the DoD mandating that, everyone has to have the CMMC compliance. So, there's so much opportunity there.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is CMMC is so new at this point that,
Mhm.
when the government says we mandate this, then you look at it and you're like, there's three different levels. Okay, which one are you mandating? The
Yes.
self-reporting? Okay, easy peasy.
Yes.
But at the same
Yes.
time, who's vetting that company that's self-reporting really understands what they're attesting to? And what are the
Right.
Mhm.
ramifications if they attest to something and turns out that they're not doing it to the extent that
Exactly.
the government thinks that they're doing it?
Right.
So
And the
yeah,
documents you have to have on call in case
exactly.
they're
Yeah.
requested at any point, because that's
Yep.
what I understand the self-certification is. Like,
Yeah.
you can say you do it, but they have the
But
right to
you
request documentation at any point, and you have to have it ready.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, we in the healthcare business are used to that with OCR. I mean, the OCR
Mhm.
audits would come around, you'd fill in the little online form and say, "Yeah, we're doing everything," and you'd hope that they wouldn't actually, target you for the audit. But when they
Mhm.
did, or if they did, you better be there with all the evidence. And that's where I'm seeing, when people question, hey, say, come in and say, "Hey, I need help with CMMC," and I'm like, "Which level? Is there?"
Right.
Mhm.
Is there a threshold like you have to be level two, or is everybody starting level one, which is probably why I'm not seeing the panic in the market that I was
Mhm.
expecting to see with CMMC?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I,
for CMMC, from what I've seen, because like I said, we do have some contractors that are working with the DoD. It depends on the level of the classified level of information that you're handling. So, unless you're, working on a top secret, DoD contract that's handling all kind of secret information, a lot of people are okay with the, self-assessment, especially like the CompTIA certified training providers. They're doing self-assessments.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Some that have like low-hanging fruit, maybe workforce development or something like that, doing self-assessments. So it really just depends on, what they're going after as far as contracting.
Yeah, and the other standard that I feel like people misunderstand a lot are the HIPAA requirements. I can't tell you how
Yes.
many people that I've talked to, and they're like, we're HIPAA certified. No, you're not. Nobody is.
Yeah,
That's not
no
a
such
thing.
thing.
You can be HITRUST certified for HIPAA.
Right.
You can have other certifications that meet HIPAA controls. But we need to dispel that myth really quick, because people think they're HIPAA certified because
Right.
they have a tech guy and they ask the tech guy or woman, sorry, as we're sitting here as female-led discussion. But they'll have somebody who's said, oh yeah, we meet all the HIPAA controls. And so they then think they're HIPAA
That's
certified.
certified,
And
yeah.
that's not what that is.
Right.
So it's important to understand that difference and the nuances between either different tiers of certification and what that delivers, or what it means to be certified versus just meeting
Compliant.
controls.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
For
Well, and
sure.
then people will say the same thing with SOC 2. We're SOC 2 certified. And you're like, okay,
Mhm.
reread that report, please.
It's an
Yep.
attestation.
Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. One of the other things, and I'm going to just throw this out there, this might be conversation for another time, but Sue and I are often brought in because there's a gap in knowledge about actually how to manage an assessment. No matter which framework you pick, there's a gap in how people actually manage that, because you need just enough knowledge of the framework itself, along with very high level project management capabilities and the new understanding the nuances between the relationship of the client, the assessor, and whatever the governing body is, and how those all fit together. And that could be an interesting topic if you have anybody who's reaching out about it.
Okay. I'll definitely think about that.
We don't mind sharing. We have
Okay.
plenty of work, and honestly, there's a lot of people who just don't want to do it. So we don't mind teaching. At least from
Yeah.
my perspective, I never mind sharing. That's why we started HITRUST, user group and,
Right.
and HITRUST Secrets, is because we thought, well, we just want to share. We have
Right.
we have good knowledge, and we just want to share it.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'd love this to be available through your platform, but not
Okay.
exclusively through the platform. But I mean, definitely,
Right.
to get the word out to say, hey, if you do have questions about compliance, and because to Donna's point, you don't want to, as a project manager, as an audit facilitator, you don't want to just be passing evidence without looking at it and without seeing the
Right.
value and being able to push back and go, no, this doesn't really show that particular control requirement to the level it needs to be.
Mhm.
Because if you do that, then yeah, you're adding value as far as task scheduling, but you're not really adding value as far as being ready for that
Mhm.
assessor, or
Mhm.
auditor to come in. So there's definitely value add, as well as being that advocate. So when the assessor comes in, because I've had an assessor that's, and I think I asked this Don on a couple weeks ago, where I was like, this auditor came back and said, people need to justify or accept their job description every year for a SOC 2. And I was like, where does that come from? And but to be able to ask that question to the auditor and go, well, which trust principle is that? Because I have maybe 3 or 4 other ways that I can show that trust principle in effect without
Mhm.
Mhm.
the particular way you're showing that it needs to be.
Mhm.
So there
Yes.
is kind of that fine art of, advocate as well as, value add that
Mhm.
is that unique kind of combination. And we do learn from each other. I mean, I'll come in and ask that question and
Yeah.
go, where did that come from? And I mean,
Yeah.
I remember when I first did HITRUST, looking at how, servers needed to get time synchronized from at least 2 sources. And it just threw me. I was like, why? And they're like, oh, auditing. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But you don't want to be floundering on that, when it's just a kind of a quick answer that you can get from
Yeah.
your network of people. But it's
Yeah.
great that
And
you're
even
building that network of
understanding,
people.
yeah, even understanding how there's overlap between the frameworks, because a lot of organizations do more than one. I've
Mhm.
got an organization right now that I'm working with where their SOC 2 and their HITRUST are just misaligned, where they're not able to use all of the same, anything that's duplicated. They might be able to use some of the overlap, but because of the timing, we can't cram everything into the time period that overlaps. So they will have to repull some evidence that they've just pulled because HITRUST has a very strict time date stamp, and their SOC 2 requires all evidence to be submitted by X date. So those are things that, I can provide guidance for them for next year, but it won't help them now because of the timing. So being able to help guide, some of that information might be really useful for some of the folks who are seeking out, information on the frameworks, and how do they position them and how do they time them? Do you run them all together? It depends on how big it depends on how big your organization is. It depends on what you need to get out of them. So the classic "it depends" answer.
Makes me think about GRC engineering and automation and how it could help to speed up that audit process. So we do have a young guy on the application that will be teaching GRC engineering on
Mhm.
the application as well. Because since you said that, and they won't be able to pull and things like that, audits can be time consuming. I'm thinking, are you guys using automation in your practice now to be able to
I mean,
pull? Is
these
that
are
even a
screen
possibility?
grabs in a lot of cases. They have to justify where they get the screen grab. It has to have the time date stamp. They have to explain what's on it. I mean, so automation might be able to help with some of it. I doubt it would be able to cover the gamut, because the screen grabs, HITRUST is very finicky about making sure that it is a timely screen grab with that timestamp on it. SOC 2, not necessarily the same strictness, but increasingly the assessors who want to, have their brand as a SOC 2 assessor, in that higher ranking area, are looking for proof of when was this pulled. There's some things like reports, minutes from meetings, or extracts from systems that can be, accomplished over a series of months. That stuff is ripe for AI and automation and everything we can throw at it to reduce the burden. Even just getting it in a single location would be brilliant. But some of the evidence is going to have to be done on a more manual basis. So what's your experience on that?
Well, I think it's timely having that compliance engineer talking about this because HITRUST is
Mm-hmm.
moving to the continuous assurance model. And so that's where it's actually one of the people on LinkedIn, one of your instructors, I think that's the one I stalked and connected with because I was thinking, okay, come January when HITRUST starts announcing the continuous assurance program, I really want somebody that can help me with understanding which pieces can be automated. I've got a
Mm-hmm.
client right now that's using Vanta, so I'll be curious to see from that what we already can automate and pull in. And they can kind of do like policy reviews and procedure reviews and kind of automate that piece of it. But pulling from a disparate system like an HRIS system, things like that. I don't know we'd ever get that integration, but maybe, I mean, I couldn't picture AI 5 years ago. So, 3 months from now, it's probably going to be like, yeah, we got it. You're fine. Just
Mm-hmm.
sign on the dotted line. Your assurance is complete.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And I think it's very important that these conversations are had. And that's why I
Mhm.
do want to definitely do the open dialogues because we all come from different backgrounds, right? So, like I was explaining to you, Sue, like I haven't done, a high trust evaluation. Like that hasn't been any of the clients that have come across, my purview. So to have an open dialogue like this where we can, provide our experiences and share insights is very amazing. I think it's going to provide a lot of value to be able to coordinate and get everyone together to network.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. All right. Well, is there anything else you want us to know about it? When is it? Do you have an actual date for the launch so we can celebrate along with you?
Yeah.
So I was throwing out sneak peeks, but the app submission went in last night. So technically, within the next 3 days or so, it should be available in the App Store.
Nice.
However, the way that the build works is dummy data is entered in during the submission, and then it's cleared once the app goes live. So we need time to actually upload the instructors and get profiles set up. So I have been telling everyone by October 20th, like I'll actually make the announcement once
Mhm.
all the classes get uploaded and everything. But by early next week, you'll be able to find it in the App Store.
Fabulous.
Yeah, that's very exciting. And we will celebrate along with you. We'll definitely put the announcement out to our network, put it on this will be posted to our YouTube channel, and then when the announcement is ready and it's live, we'll definitely link to it there as
Okay.
well. So,
I sure appreciate that. I will have flyers. I'm having, materials built right now to be able to for people to share and say, it's available now. Even a cool little AI video that I just reached out to someone about today, and he has like green hair, and I'm so you know what, but people need different, eye-catching things. So yes, so when I put it out, I'll definitely let you guys know first. And to your question, I'm hoping classes can start the last week in October. That's what I'm planning for. Some of my instructors are ready to go. They're like, my materials are built. So it should be soon.
excellent, excellent. Well, definitely a great timing for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So hopefully
Yes.
it'll be ready in time for Halloween, and we can have definitely the treat as opposed to the trick or treat. So it'll be
Yes, I'm
great.
so excited.
Well, thank you so much for joining, and please don't be a
Thank
stranger.
you.
You're welcome back anytime. Any questions
Okay.
you've got.
Absolutely. Would love to have you back in, I don't know, a month or two if I'm not speaking too boldly, Sue, to see how it's going and see
Yes.
how the courses are lining up.
Yes, for sure. And thank you so much for having me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity just to, let the world know about Kyora IQ and all of your millions of
Absolutely.
followers. We're speaking that into existence.
All right, thank you.
Well, that's what we're here for, is to share all the information that anybody in that cybersecurity and assessment space might want to know.
Yes.
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks so much, and we will talk to you guys next week.
I
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. If you got value from this episode, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next High Trust Secrets. We go live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Central and dig into real world compliance and security topics. And each session gets uploaded right here after the live show. So whether you're catching us live or on your own time, make sure you're subscribed. We'd love to have you along on your high trust journey.